Hi guys, and welcome to Cultnomics. My name is Paul Hanley, and today I'm going to be chatting to you about taxation and welfare loss. Okay guys, in this example here we're going to see the impact of a tax on a product in terms of welfare. And in order to show this, we will draw a downward sloping demand curve and indicate it with a D down here. So for demand, we will draw our upward sloping supply curve, and we will draw that here and indicate it with an S, and we will show our equilibrium point where demand equals supply on our market clearing point, and we have our price level at that point, and we also have the quantity demanded. So this is before the imposition of a tax. This is the situation in the market. With the imposition of a tax, what it does is it creates a gap between demand and supply, and we can show this by showing quantity reducing in the market due to the tax, and that reduction in quantity we can draw it upwards with a vertical line to show the gap it creates between the demand curve over here, and we will say that the price level now is P1. That's the one that the buyers will have to pay, and we have another one down here, another price level, because the gap is opened up, and for P2 this is what the suppliers are going to receive. So we now have a difference between what consumers pay for it and what suppliers receive, and that's the imposition of a tax. In order to show the welfare implications, what we're going to do is we will start off with a concept called consumer surplus. So consumer surplus here is the difference between the price level P and the demand curve. So it's the area above the price and below the demand curve. So consumer surplus, and this is without the tax. So in this case we will do without the tax, and what we will see is if we put in some letters here, we'll start off with A, B in the box here, C in the triangle, we will have D in the next box, then we will go with an E in our triangle, and we'll go with F down here. So for our consumer surplus without the tax, it is the area above the original price line and below the demand curve. That would be A, B and C. So A plus B plus C in that instance. The other concept we have to look at though is something called producer surplus. So producer surplus here. And a producer surplus is the area below the price line, so below our original price line here, and above the supply curve. And we have this indicated with letters now. So without the tax, what we have is a producer surplus of D plus E plus area F. And finally, we will be putting in the tax effect, but we know that without a tax in here, the tax effect is none in our starting point case. So we have no tax effect. So what we're going to see now is what's the impact of the tax imposition in the market on welfare. Well, initially over here, what we're going to see is the price is pushed up in this market with a tax, so that our new price level is at P1, indicated by the red line. So above the price line and below the demand curve, we only have area A. So our new consumer surplus is solely area A. For our producer surplus, what we're going to see is that it's the area below the new price level that the seller receives and above the supply curve. So the welfare that they are left with is area F when there's a tax imposed. Now, some of that welfare is transferred to the government. Because they've imposed a tax, they will get some money. And the money that they're getting is the difference between P1 and P2. So that difference is the tax level, and that tax level is imposed out to quantity 1. So those two areas, B and D, are now the tax welfare. So B plus D is the tax welfare. But what we'll see now is we've only allocated B and D over. Our consumer surplus shrank down to A, our producer surplus shrank down to F. So we have this area over here where the tax is taken out. And what the tax does is it reduces the quantity in the market. So actually the government isn't receiving any welfare from this area here because there's no output whatsoever. The market has shrunk in size. It used to be out to Q, now it's back to Q1, and so this area disappears. So what we get in this case here is something called a deadweight loss. So those two areas I just wiped out, area C and area E, are the deadweight loss of a tax imposed on society. I hope you call back to Cultnomics soon. Bye for now.